Hi, I'm Jeremy with Poindexter G, and today we're going to go over the different M1 grades available through the CMP. So if you've taken a look at the CMP, you see that you don't just buy an M1 Garand from them. They've got different grades that are available, there's different manufacturers and some other stuff going on. Now before we get into talking about the different grades, I'm going to go over the M1 Garands themselves a little bit because there's some important information here that will help you make sense of the different grades. There were 4 different manufacturers of M1 Garands for the United States. You had Springfield Armory, which was the government armory, Winchester Repeating Arms, which I'm sure you've heard of, Harrington and Richardson Arms, and International Harvester Corporation. And yes, that is the same International Harvester that makes farm implementation. Now, these different manufacturers had different times that they were making them. Springfield Armory made them over the entire production of the M1 Garand. Winchester only produced them during World War II era. Harrington and Richardson and International Harvester made them during Korea and post-Korea War. International Harvester actually had a lot of trouble making them. Didn't get as many out there. They had to subcontract out a lot of the parts, including the barrels and the stocks. Now this rifle here, if you look at the markings right here, says that it is made by H&R Arms Company, meaning that it was Harrington and Richardson. You can look at the serial and see that it was made slightly after the Korea War. And while that might be a good answer to who made it, if you take it apart and start looking at the different components, you see a different story. The barrel is actually the oldest thing on this rifle, made in 1943 by Springfield Armory. The bolt, the op rod, the trigger assembly are all made by Springfield. There's actually a part here that's marked IHC, meaning that it's from International Harvester. The stock on this seems to be one that was made by the company that made the stocks for International Harvester. So there's kind of parts from all over on this thing. And this will show you something that's true about M1 Garands from the CMP, and that is that they are made up of different parts from different manufacturers over different years. The reason that this has happened is that over their lives, these rifles have had parts changed out to keep them working. You would have field armorers who would change out parts to keep them working. They weren't worried about what manufacturer went with what. They just had to keep guns working. This one has electro penciled on it on the inside of the receiver from 1963, where it was rebuilt at the Springfield Armory. Later, when the United States was no longer using the M1 Garand, we started sending these to other countries as military aid. These would be places like South Korea, the Philippines, Turkey, and then armorers in those countries would continue to switch around parts to keep rifles going. Once these things go home back to the United States and the military turns them over to the CMP goes through a process of making sure that they are functioning. And then parts will be continued to be switched out even more at that point. So basically, by the time these things get out the doors at the CMP, who knows how many times they've been worked on and how many times parts have been changed around on them. To make it even more confusing, a lot of the other manufacturers would occasionally put in Springfield parts in it. So a lot of them, even when they were brand new, wouldn't even necessarily all be one parts from one manufacturer. So when you see from the CMP on a particular grade, the manufacturers that are going along with that grade, that it is literally only the receiver that is going to be from that. Everything else on there could be from that manufacturer or could be from something else entirely different. So now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the different grades. The first grade that you're going to see is rack grade. This is basically the bottom down there. The stocks are beat up. You've got pitting all over the metal. There may be surface rust. The barrels are just completely and utterly shot out. These are bad. The CMP hasn't been selling any of that grade for quite a while now. I don't know if they've quit finding them there or if they've just decided that they don't want to sell any that are that bad, but you just don't see them down there anymore. So the first grade that you actually see anymore is going to be field grade. These are going to be the ones that are pretty much mechanically sound, but they're just not going to be pretty, and the bores are not going to be good on the barrels. The next step up after field grade is going to be service grade. The service grades are going to be a lot better looking, and the numbers on the barrel are going to be a lot better. So that you'll see that your basic field and service grades are going to come from Springfield Armory and Harrington and Richardson. There is a step up in price to get to either a Winchester or an International Harvester. These will be available at certain times. You have to look on the website to see when they are there. But just remember, and I can't keep iterating this enough here, we're just talking about the receivers in that case. Now the next grade up from there is going to be the special, which is going to be a little bit different than the others because the special has been rebuilt. The special will have a nice new reproduction stock. It's going to have the CMP cartouche on it. It gets a nice reproduction barrel that is going to be perfectly pristine. They're going to refinish with parkerizing all of the parts on there. Some parts will be changed out with reproduction parts. A lot of the springs get changed out. These are meant to basically come out and be really nice shooters. They also have specials that are rechambered into 308, and that's able to be done because of the new barrels that are put on them. Now the price of the specials tends to be a jump up from the regular grades. You'll also see that on the specials they also have them available with International Harvester and Winchester at times. So what grade is going to be the best for you? Well, that's something you'll have to decide for yourself, but I can give you a little bit of my thoughts on it there. I really don't see a reason to get a field grade, as the jump from price from field grade to service grade is really not that much, and the service grades are so much better on that. I would think that you're really going to be deciding between a field grade and a special. Now the pros on each one are going to be for the specials that they're going to shoot a lot better and that they're going to be a lot prettier with the new stocks on them and the reparkerizing on them. The pros for the service grade are going to be that they're going to be a little bit cheaper in price, and also that they are probably going to have a better collectible value later on, being that they are still going to have all parts on them that were original and not reproduction. And so it's really just going to depend on what it is that you're wanting the rifle for. And I don't know, maybe you'll end up buying a bunch because you can buy 8 of these a year. So I hope that you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, be sure to click the like button and also comment on the video if you have anything to say. You can also subscribe to my channel so you can be sure to see all the videos that I post and not miss anything. I'm Jeremy with Point Extra G, and we'll see you next time.